I think I'm live. Okay. Hi. I am Dana K. White. I am the author of Decluttering at the Speed of Life. Guess what? I got a call from my publisher on Friday that Decluttering at the Speed of Life has sold 500,000 copies. Yes, I'm really excited. Anyway, this is a little bouncy. I'm sorry. I am barreling down on a book deadline. And so I am kind of not in my normal place and I'm a little slouchy, but it is what it is today because this is what we're going to get. But I did want to get on here because I have missed y'all. I took the summer off and I'm trying to not bounce. Maybe I should just not talk, but that won't work for a video, will it? But I took the summer off and make sure y'all aren't saying that you can't hear me. Can you hear me? Okay, nobody's saying they can't hear me, so maybe you can. I took the summer off. I always do. I know it's like getting close to October, but here we are, right? Like this is the reality of my life right now is I am on a book deadline and it just had, I just haven't been able to get back on, but coming on. If you'd like to ask questions for future lives, they are not answered in real time by any means. You can go to askdanakWhite.com. If you need answers for your personal situation, like you need someone to guide you through my no mess process, don't forget I have decluttering coaches. Declutteringcoaches.com is my website. Sometimes I think people think that it is a website and some of my coaches are listed on there. No, like I own it. I own declutteringcoaches.com. So everybody listed there is trained and certified by me. So if you want to find someone who knows how to take you through my method, that's the place to go. I also want to make sure you know, I know I'm doing all these little advertisements, but want to make sure you know that Take Your House Back is on sale right now. And I know I always hear from people, sorry, I'm trying to get this to where it's not so bouncy. I always hear from people who are like, oh no, I missed it. So, or when's the next sale? This is it. This is the sale right now. We're going to do an all day declutter on October 4th. That is a week from Saturday. How in the world is that possible? I don't know, but it's true. So it's like a week and a half away. Grab it while it's on sale. Don't ever buy it when it's not on sale because it's like insanely expensive, but it's $94. I know that's a lot of money, but so many homes all over the world have been completely changed by people who've gone through this course. Okay. It's a course that I do with Dawn from Minimal Mom and Cass from Clutterbug. So a slobcomesclean.com/take. That link is in the description of this video as well. Go there and grab it while it's on sale. Okay. I am going to take questions from y'all because guess what? I have not had time to go through the spreadsheet. So sorry about that. Okay, here we go. Question. And also, by the way, I can't always get to all of them. Okay, so I promise everybody, I'm just saying this ahead of time. Promise everybody, I'm not purposely skipping your question. Probably. Sometimes I do, but probably not purposely skipping your question. How do you remain sincere when repeatedly answering the same questions? Oh, you're talking to me about how how I do this. I thought you were talking about answering the same decluttering questions. I was like, well, it's going to be a different answer every time, right? Where would I look for this first? I appreciate and benefit from repetition, but wonder about if it leads you to deeper or to tweaking strategies. Yeah, I think, I mean, this is a fun question, right? But I have made a very conscious decision to not make up new ways to declutter for the sake of having content to put out on the internet. And I do that from the perspective because I am the person who needed this content, right? Like everything that I teach is stuff that I have developed in my own home. And because I had my own humongous mess that I had to deal with. That's just so bouncy because it's me talking and it's like propped up on a pillow in my little desk. But anyway, it is what it is today. That is a conscious decision that I've made because I know that it's nice to make like newer, fresher, cooler ideas or come up with something new to say because that'll, it feels like that's what I need to do to have new, fresh content. And yet, the truth is, people like me feel left behind when you're like, oh, yeah, declutter, but now let's do this really cool thing. And I'm like, I'm just going to drill down harder and harder. So, one example that comes to mind with this is with the Take It There Now. Okay. So when I first started teaching the Take It There Now, I would say even in Decluttering at the Speed of Life, which if you weren't here at the beginning, has now sold 500,000 copies. I talk about the need for Take It There Now to prevent me from creating a bigger mess, to mean that I can stop at any time. Like, that is the major value of Take It There Now. That is still absolutely true. I still teach that all the time. Through answering question after question after question about Take It There Now, because nobody wants to take it there now, and I get it. I don't want to either. But through that, I now teach that the other huge value of Take It There Now, also through my own experience, is facing the reality of that space. Like, if I'm not taking it there now, I am acting in theory instead of reality. I am making a decision based on what I think that space looks like. But if I take it there now, I have to face that reality. So that's one example of where I've drilled down harder through answering the same questions over and over. So, all right, let's see. Let me go back to the top. This one says, my mom grew up dirt poor and wants to keep everything. How do I get her to try to declutter? I'm a really big fan of not giving speeches first and convincing to declutter. Okay. Because the reality is, she probably knows she wants her house a little bit better, but she may be scared because either you or other people have tried to help her declutter before and have spent their time convincing her to not be worried about the things that she's worried about, right? To not feel what she feels, all this kind of stuff. And so therefore, it's possible that that reaction to that her reaction to other people saying she needs to declutter is born out of, I can't have that argument again. Nobody understands. Nobody takes me seriously on these things that are real, actual stress points for me. So instead, what I would do is learn the 5 steps of my no mess decluttering process. You can get a printable of the process at slobcomesclean.com/5, F-I-V-E. There's also a link in the description of this video. Go with that and go through the process with the perspective of, can I help you? Okay. And use that process to keep her on track. Instead of saying, I read this book, I listened to this lady on the internet, I really think this is what you need. Instead, go in and say, is there anything I can help you with? Okay. And if whatever she says, I know the visibility rules where I recommend that you start, but this isn't you, this is your mom, right? And so, is there anything I can help you with? Okay. And then use the process to just stay on track and build the trust, because that process builds trust. That's why I love that I have decluttering coaches using this process, because it builds trust and helps people learn what it is that they actually need. And it's very respectful of the person decluttering. So if you use the process, you're not going to have this conversation about, Mom, you're not dirt poor anymore. There's no place in the 5-step process for that conversation to happen. You are literally going to start with trash. Mom, do you see any trash? And you may see things that you think are trash and she doesn't think are trash because of her background. You're not going to dive into that and go into, why do you think this isn't trash? Instead, you're going to take her word for it. When you say, do you see any trash? And she says, yeah, this, and that's it. And you think, are you kidding me? You don't say, are you kidding me? You just keep going, because that's trust that you're building. Mom, is there anything here that does have a home somewhere else? Okay, let's go ahead and take it to its established home that you already know. And then, oh gosh, this is so wobbly. Sorry. This might be one you'll want to listen to instead of watch. Sorry. then, you go through, is there anything here that you already do know that you want to declutter? Because if there is, you want to get that through. And then you just start going with if you needed this item, where would you look for it first? Okay, let's go take it there right now. Now, part of that is the building of trust of taking her answer for where would you look for this first. It is going through that process of going to that place and facing the reality of that place. She's probably going to say, no, I'll do that later. No, this is actually really, I found this to be really helpful in my own home. So let's go ahead and go there. Oh, there's no room for it there. All right. What are you willing to get rid of in order to make the space? And I know I'm going through the whole process right here, but the process is good because it removes a lot of that pressure. But going through the process without putting the pressure on, without bringing up the argument that maybe you've had a million times, is so necessary to build that trust, because the reaction that she's likely having is based on past experiences with people trying to convince her to declutter. Let's see. I'm jealous of those of y'all saying autumn weather. You've got autumn weather where you are. Thank you, Rachel. Rachel's one of my coaches. And yeah, 500,000 copies sold. It's crazy. I got a call from my publisher on Friday. I was so excited. Let's see. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Oh yeah, slobcomesclean.com/take. Take Your House Back is on sale right now. If you've been waiting for it to go on sale, this is the time. Okay. The next all day declutter is October 4th. So go to slobcomesclean.com/take, or the link is there. Let's see. Okay, you have your first client. How do you handle clients who want your help but have trouble letting go of things or control? Honestly, you just stick to the process. It's just like what we were talking about before with the mom, right? Instead of convincing, you go through the process and you take their word for it. When they say they don't see any more trash, you can say, is this trash? And if they say no, you keep going, because you're going to lift it up at some point and say, if you needed this used gum wrapper, where would you look first for a used gum wrapper, right? And so there you go. Most Kathy's saying she just checked and there are no coaches in New Mexico. We'd love to have more coaches. We've got about 60, and most of our coaches do online coaching as well. So if you've seen my 1 hour betters that I do, that are online, people make huge progress with online coaching. I mean, we've had multiple of our coaches tell stories of working with people who have been diagnosed with hoarding disorder. Now, I'm not saying this is it's going to work for everybody, but as many of them say, like, it works really well if they're also getting the mental health therapy that they need alongside working with the decluttering coach. Like, I've had multiple decluttering coaches who were working virtually, and people were able to get their home to the point where they were able to bring somebody in to do, deep cleaning, which we all know that's the dream, right? Okay. Let's see. How does one handle the no home clutter? Items that I find just keep moving around the house. Yes. Welcome. The first decluttering question is how you do this. So the first decluttering question is, if I needed this item, where would I look for it first? I am only asking this question about things that do not have a home. If something already has a home, it left this space in step 2, which is the easy stuff, the stuff that already has a home, right? I am specifically asking this question about exactly the things that you're talking about here, things that don't have a home and they just move all around the house, or they've just been living in this place that's not a real home forever in a pile or whatever. Where would I look for it first is how I identify its home. I'm not going to decide on a home, because here's the problem. When I used to think, I've got to decide where to put all these things. First of all, that was overwhelming, and I put off doing it at all because I was like, that's a lot of decisions to make. And when I've tried to do it before, I was always wrong. And and so I'm not good at this and blah, blah, blah. Instead, I'm going on the instinct of if I picture myself looking for this item, where's the first place where I would look for it? Now, if the first place that comes in your mind is the coffee table and I don't want it to be on the coffee table, well, then you remove the coffee table from the equation because I don't want it to be on this random surface. I want it to be put away. And so I ask myself, where's the first place where I would look for it? At the beginning of what I assume is going to be a 3-hour search tearing my house apart looking for this item, right? So then I take it to that space. I face the reality of that space. So that is how you handle clutter that doesn't have a home, which that's the definition of clutter, right? It doesn't have a place to be. Okay. What's your advice on diaries or journals, as in keep or get rid? I don't give advice on keep or get rid. I say, if you needed this diary, where would you look for it first? And then that space where you would look for it first, the physical space where you would look for it is the limit to how many of these you can keep. Also, I am keeping in mind that my right now life deserves priority. So I can't keep journals from 6th grade at the expense of being able to have the skillet that I need to be able to cook dinner. And I'm about to sneeze. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. That was embarrassing. And I really did try to go, where's that mute button? But I didn't get it in time. Sorry. Okay. So instead of that, like, because here's the thing. Some people are like, oh, I can just get rid of those. Some people are like, I could never get rid of those. So having this random stranger on the internet tell you whether you should keep them or get rid of them, I don't find that to be helpful in the least. But instead, there's a process. Where would I look for it first? Also, for a lot of these journals, and name what it is, right? Like the journal from the summer I broke up with my high school boyfriend or whatever. Like name what it is. If I needed this journal from the summer when I broke up with my high school boyfriend, where would I look first for the journal from the summer when I broke up with my high school boyfriend? Like you say that, and often it's going to be, oh, I would never go looking for that one. That can go, right? Which is the second decluttering question. Let's see. Let's see. I just rented a 10 by 12 storage unit because I plan on moving in a few months. Literally, because there is like a speck on my screen. I thought that this said I rented a 10 by 12 storage unit because I plan on moving in, but it was just a speck of dust. Anyway, because I plan on moving in a few months and have a lot to declutter and move. How can I use having a storage unit to my advantage during this process? So I am not for storage units, but I'm also not like never a storage unit. I just think it needs to have a very, very specific purpose. And because you have it and because you have this moving thing, how would you work that? I mean, the first thing I would do is declutter your house for your house. And I'm assuming that you are selling this house, and that's part of the thought process is the stuff that's going to leave the house is going to make the house easier to stage. What I would do first is take a trash tour through your house. I mean, like really hardcore, take a trash tour through your house. And because you don't want to be moving things that ultimately will go in the garbage to a storage unit, because that's a lot of extra unnecessary effort, right? So really go hard on the trash, really go hard on the donations that you don't want to be moving around and paying for storage unit and moving multiple times because of all this, okay? But then what I would do, because I highly recommend, and I know we are frugal people, we clutter people tend to also be highly frugal. But I will tell you the best money I ever spent when I moved was on a set number of boxes that was specifically calculated by somebody somewhere who knows more than I do about space and boxes to be the correct amount of boxes for a normal 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Okay. Which we were actually moving into a house bigger than that, but I was like, no, I'm going to do this. Okay. So whatever house you're moving into, not the storage unit, but the house that you're moving into. If you don't know where you're moving yet, well, then imagine, what is it that you're looking for, and get boxes for that. Because when I first moved, I had more stuff than I honestly think I had more stuff, not counting beds and things, right? Although I did have 3 dining room tables in my first apartment that was 800 square feet. I had more stuff than I would need in the 4-bedroom house I now have. For real. Okay. So don't be thinking of it as, what do I need for the stuff that I have? Think of it as, what is the reality of the space that I'm ultimately going to move into? Get the boxes for that. And then those are the boxes for both your storage unit and the stuff that you're then going to pack up right when you leave. Okay. So those boxes are the limit. Of course, you can get more, but just knowing that it's a limit is incredibly powerful. Okay. So have those boxes and say, I'm going to divide them in half, and half the stuff that will fit in these boxes will go to the storage unit. But you don't want to just start being like, oh, I've got a storage unit, I can throw things in. Also, the other biggest piece of advice that I have for moving, which this would all apply to you, and there's a video where I talk through it. But all of those things, what was I talking about? What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Anytime you're packing boxes to move, make sure that you have a trash bag and a donate box right there. That it is as easy to stick stuff in the trash or the donate box as it is to put it in the box. Okay. All right. Let's see. Take Your House Back is on sale. Go grab it. theslobcomesclean.com/take. All right. Let's see. I work full time and never feel like decluttering after work, and the weekends go by too fast. How can I start making some progress in smaller chunks of time? Okay. I feel like we've got, I love it. Like, I feel like we've got quite a few people who maybe haven't read Decluttering at the Speed of Life, like the other 500,000 people who have. Did y'all hear that? 500,000 copies sold. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, like that is actually what your situation is, what the no mess decluttering process is designed for. That's why my book is called, the book came out like 8 years ago now, or 7 years ago. Decluttering at the Speed of Life, not light, life, real life, for when you work full time, for when your weekends go by too fast, for when you are a busy person. You do not have the time to pull everything out of a space, because you're going to have to go back to real life before you finish. So the no mess decluttering process is how you do this. So I highly recommend that you get a copy of my 5-step process at aslobcomesclean.com/5. And that, following that process, means that you go one item at a time, final decision by final decision, which the process teaches you how to do all that, and acting on those final decisions so that you don't have to set aside a huge amount of time. Instead, you go, I've got 5 minutes right now and a little bit of energy. I can do step 1 in this space and my house is going to be better off. And the other thing too is just to change your goal from, I want to have a decluttered home. Of course, that's your goal, right? But change your goal to better. All the time when I was here, where my house was a disaster and I wanted to be here, and this was my goal, I never made progress because this was so overwhelming. And I was like, how do I go from here to there? But instead, when I said, I'm going to make my goal better, then every little thing I did made an impact, and I eventually got over here. But I never got there when this was my goal. Anyway, let's see. We're moved into a house without a dishwasher over the summer, and I'm really struggling with dishes. How do I get it back under control when I miss a day without it taking hours? take the hours that it takes. I mean, do whatever it has to take. Do whatever it has to, you know what I mean, right? Do whatever you have to do, whatever it takes, and feel it. Like, feel the regret, because that regret is going to be the motivation to keep up with it the next time. The other thing I would say there is give yourself permission to do as many dishes as you can right now in this moment. If you have a couple minutes here, how many dishes can I do? 4? Okay. You're better off. Like, it's that same thing of better that we were talking about a minute ago. Love it. Sabra says, it is the only process that has worked for me. Thank you, Dana. Yes. And Christy says, trust the process. I mean, I feel a little weird sometimes saying like, no, my process works, but it does. It does. It does. I was listening to an interview the other day. Somebody had written a book about like college entrance process or something. And the person was interviewing them about interviewing the people about this. And he said something like, basically, the ones who were the most like, yeah, come on in and see the process, were the ones who like had a process that they were highly confident in because they had been doing it for so long. And I'm like, so I don't want to be like, obviously do whatever you want to do, but this process works. It just does. Okay. Jenny says, I've been decluttering for months, so I'm in a decent place. Is the Take Your House Back course still something I could benefit from, or is it more of a starting point? I know decluttering is ongoing. I think you will benefit from it because it has a lot of, I stick to talking about decluttering. I don't pretend to be organizing. I don't pretend to be minimalism, all that. But Cass from Clutterbug is amazing at giving organizing strategies for your specific brain. So like taking that up a notch. Dawn is really fantastic at framing minimalism for real life and helping you really understand the power of having less. And so I mean, I'm sure people in the comments could share, but no, I think it would be worth it for sure. I do. There's also a money back guarantee. I think you have a check on the website, but a certain amount of time. I did your decluttering coaches program over the summer. What next steps should I take to become a coach? So the way I have it set up, okay, and it's not cheap, right? Because it's not meant to just be, oh, everybody's going to take this course. It's like for people who want to do this. It is the training course, I'm assuming, is what you've been through. Once you are finished with that, like all the way finished, then you will get your completion certificate and you will be given the link to be certified if you want to. You can take the training and be like, I'm going to go start my own decluttering coach business. Great. Which I mean is what you're having to do anyway. But if you want a piece of your decluttering coach business to be being listed on my site, which is not going to give you full-time clients, that's not what it's going to do, but it is a piece of your business that you're trying to build. If you want to do that and then have the ongoing support and the monthly trainings that we do and the Facebook group for decluttering coaches and all that, then you will need to be certified. If you're not sure, if you think you finished it and you never got the link, just send us an email and we'll get it figured out. Let's see. Would you say that most of the people that hire your coaches do it online, or do they prefer to have in-home visits? I think a lot of people take advantage of the online, but a lot of them also do in-home visits. So I would say it's not necessarily one or the other, but we don't have coaches in every state yet. I would wish that we would, but I hope we'll get there. But so there's a lot of people that do use the online. Let's see. Jessica says, I'm considering doing the coaching. We got a lot of questions about coaching today. Doing the coaching course, but can't physically help clients. Do you have many coaches who work exclusively remotely? Yes, we definitely have, I would say quite a few that are exclusively remote. Do you think trauma can cause a big clutter when you have never been that way before? Definitely. Absolutely. Absolutely. Here's the thing about coaching. So, which is what I do online, right? And then my decluttering coaches do that as well with individuals. Um, Coaching deals with present and future. Mental health professionals is what you need to deal with the past. Okay. So if there is something in the past that has that keeps you from being able to move forward, I highly recommend you look into working with a mental health professional. Okay. But when I say that too, what I mean is if you are able to use the 5-step process, if you are able to print it out, if you're able to listen to Decluttering at the Speed of Life and go, okay, I can do that, even if it's just a little piece of it, then do that. But if you find that you can't even do that, I would recommend that you look for a mental health professional. Let's see. Zuna says, Jenny, most of my house is decluttered and I still benefit from the Take Your House Back. Thank you. See, I like it when y'all say that and it's not just me. slobcomesclean.com/take is my link for the Take Your House Back course, which is on sale right now. The next all-day declutter is October 4th, which is a week from Saturday. How is time flying? But anyway, let's see. How do you manage new inventory coming in if you're setting up a new room or space that does need items, but I don't want to go over my clutter threshold? It's the take it there now. Like it's the not ordering all the things that you think might be cool, but to go slowly. This is one of the things that I'm doing recently. I have really, I'm kind of on this kick for wall decor. I just kind of got to this point where I went, I hate everything on my walls. I got rid of a bunch of it. And so I also didn't have a ton in my new house. I'd never really done that. So I'm just kind of doing this. I am so purposefully going slowly, which is the opposite of what I used to do. I used to be like, I want stuff on my walls. And I would go somewhere and I would get everything that I kind of sort of liked and I would bring it all home. But y'all, with all the decluttering that I've done over the years, I have had to get stuff out of my house that I did that with. And so I'm like the slow, like one thing at a time, put that in the place. And then if I just really don't like it, I only have one thing to get rid of, as opposed to bringing all that stuff in that there was never going to be a place. I would say the going slow is really powerful there. Let's see. How to deal with things that belong to someone who is no longer with us. The first thing I would say is know that very common advice that I have heard given to widows is to not, is to give yourself a year. It is something you're going to have to deal with. Sometimes in these moments of grief, it feels like I got to do this all right now. And you may have to, like, you may not be able to wait a year. And I'm sorry for your loss. But at the same time, if this is fresh, know that you have the right to give yourself some time, if at all possible. But after time has passed, and it is time, and especially if your space is out of control, or even if you're bringing something into your house that is currently under control, and bringing more in can make it get out of control, ask yourself the same questions. Like, I do not change the process for different categories of stuff. So even though it feels like sentimental stuff is its own category, and surely the no mess decluttering process wouldn't work on sentimental stuff, I would argue that the no mess decluttering process is extra powerful for sentimental stuff, because I'm going to pick up, let's say it's a ring, right? Like something that, of course, yes, valuable and very personal and all that kind of stuff. If I needed this ring, where would I look for it first? And then go with that instinct. No, this ring has not been in your house before. So there's not an established place, but we only ask the where would I look for it first about stuff that doesn't have an established place anyway. So we go with the instinct. Well, I would look for it in my dresser drawer. Okay, go put it there and see, is there room for it there? But also it might, the ring, you go, okay, that's small, also very highly personal, all that kind of stuff. But what if it's this person's winter coat? And you have lots and lots of memories of this person wearing this winter coat. Okay. You're going to go through the same process. If I needed my father's winter coat, where would I look first for my father's winter coat? And I'm going to go with the instinct of that. I know this feels a little bit, but you got to learn to. So don't practice on this stuff. Practice on things that are not highly sentimental, so that when you get to this, you already have some experience with going on that instinct. You take it to the place where you would look for it first. And if it's your hall coat closet, and your coat closet we used to have the tiniest little coat closet in our house. I mean, literally, it was so tiny. That is going to determine, you're like, my father's winter coat doesn't fit if I also have our current family's actual coats that we wear. His doesn't fit. And so I'm able to say, I love this coat. I love my father. I am not rejecting this coat. I am simply saying, this is our reality. This is the size of the space that we have. I might choose, you know what? I'm going to wear my father's winter coat and I'm going to get rid of mine. And that is a perfectly valid decision. But I can't just keep it because it's sentimental. I have to give it a space. And giving it a space helps to sort out what is truly the most meaningful, right? And therefore, I end up keeping a few very highly sentimental things, memorable, whatever the word is that I'm trying to say, that fit, and I'm able to keep my house under control. Okay. Michaeline says the where you would look for it first concept is so valuable, both in terms of finding an item later and in decluttering what isn't needed. Yep. I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. Slobcomesclean.com/take your house back is on sale right now. Let's see. Okay. I'm seeing some comments I would love to read, but I don't have time to read all of them. Let's see. I mean, I'm going to read this one because the first sentence is like, hi, Dana, everything you say works. Can you tell that to my children? Anyway, thank you. I have all your books. Would you have any advice or process on how to start and finish a project and call it decluttered? Really struggling with this. Yeah. So if you've read all my books, I think in Organizing for the Rest of Us, I talk about finish a project and call it decluttering. Meaning it is like, let's say you have all these scraps for a quilt and you've been moving the pile of scraps or the bucket or the basket or the bin or whatever of scraps from this place to this place. Going ahead and completing the project means that you don't have a pile of scraps anymore. And it often feels like this is not a valid use of my decluttering time and energy because making a quilt sounds fun. But if it means that now I have a quilt that can go in an actual home and I don't have all these bits and pieces, then it's worth, it counts, right? Because there's that clutter is not there anymore. How do I change my mindset when it comes to looking for things that I have put away in their proper homes? I forget I put a book where it belongs instead of in the pile it has lived in for months. I think a lot of times you just need to ask yourself when you go, where is that book? Ask yourself, if I needed that book, where would I look for it first? Your answer is most likely going to be in that other one. The other thing too is to keep on decluttering and enjoy the usability of the decluttered space. Really focus on how much easier it is to live in and maintain your space. What would happen? Would you happen to have any advice on too many plants and seeds? I would love to grow everything imaginable, but I haven't got the space. On the bright side, I did stop buying new seeds. Yeah, I think it's the container concept and the clutter threshold. It's the same concept of what do you have this space for? So this is the limited space that I have. And so therefore I'm going to grow my favorite plants first. And I am a terrible gardener. Did not even try this year. Thank you, book writing. Ruins my life. No, I'm just kidding. I enjoy it, but it's also very stressful. And I didn't have time to work on my garden when I needed to work on my garden. So one thing I have learned though, in the very small amount of gardening I have done, is that some plants can grow very close together and others need lots more space. So that can help you make your decision. You're like, okay, okra, which always should be the first thing we grow, right? Okra requires a lot of space between every plant. And so, and I don't actually know because I don't remember, but like cucumbers doesn't require as much space between plants. So I'm going to choose cucumbers because it will let me grow more than if I do the okra. And so using the container concept to be like, this is what deserves space first. And then, then your clutter threshold is what you can handle, is like what you can actually handle, what you can do. Do y'all know, are there people who will come out and like get your garden ready for you? I want to plant the seeds, but y'all, it got so weedy that the thought is just so overwhelming at this point to me. And I'm like, are there people who will come and just get it ready for me next year? Let's see. How does one become one of your coaches? Also, how would one add virtual sessions to their business equipment? I mean, this right here, you could do a virtual session on Zoom. And I mean, I'm just using the camera that already exists in my laptop. So it doesn't have to be super high tech. How does one become one of my coaches? Go to declutteringcoaches.com and you'll see find a coach and become a coach. Click on become a coach. And that will show you, what's involved. So it is a training course. If you successfully complete the training course, then you may become certified. And being certified is a separate fee. It's either a yearly or monthly fee. Jen says, I have homeschooling items to sell at a consignment sale in spring. Okay, it is September as we're talking. So let's just all. Okay. I keep moving the pile to declutter. Any tips? I'm afraid I will lose them if I store elsewhere. They don't fit on a shelf. You need to designate a space, like a closet, a cabinet, or whatever, and let that space be a container. Yes, because I mean, if it's September and you're talking about March, that's a long time. And giving it a real actual space is also the thing that's going to make you go, is it worth it? Right? Like, let's say you're going to make $400 at this consignment sale, which is a lot of money, right? Like, and there are times where you really need the $400. I get it. But when I put that amount of money and I go, what am I am using this section of my house, I'm giving it up for $400. You know what I mean? And you like, sometimes that shift in that goes, oh, okay. So I'm like, I am going to define this one space where it's not going to impede our life. And I'm not going to have to move it around from place to place. It's not going to impede our life. This is the place. I'm going to, designate part of my closet. I'm going to get rid of some of my clothes so that I have a corner of my closet where I can do that. But then it's really going to help me curate. This thing is for sure going to bring money at this sale. This item, actually, now that I only have a limited space, I start to sort out the things that are not going to be worth storing that whole time. Okay. Hey, oh, if you haven't read Decluttering at the Speed of Life, and I'm always recommending that because, like, y'all will say, right? Like, y'all will say, y'all just read it because it has everything you need all in one place with an editor and not the rambling that you're hearing right now. But it's also at libraries. Most libraries carry it. If yours does not carry it, ask them to get it because uh, a lot of times you'll be the first person who gets it. So most libraries have the ebook, the audiobook, and the paperback. Although I did see one recently in a hardback. I was like, oh, I haven't seen it like that in a thing. Let's see. Yeah, Sabra says, Decluttering the Speed of Life was the first one I read. I recommend it to my friends to read that one first and then the others. It gets to the core of your process. Thank you. Let's see. My husband was laid off when his company closed about 3 weeks ago. I'm so sorry. He is in school and his classes started up today, but there are half finished projects all over. How do I clean up? Um, if at all possible, together with him, what I would say is, okay, where would you look first for the half finished projects? Okay. Like let's designate a space for this. It kind of sounds like maybe in those 3 weeks he started a bunch of projects, which totally normal, right? So like let's designate a space according to where you would look first for these partially finished projects, and then let's let that space determine how many of these we can keep. Like when there's a limited space, then it becomes not just, oh, I have finished this project, so I need to set it aside. Instead, it's like, no, I'm going to put it in the place where I would look for it first. That place is only this big, which means the ones that I'm actually not going to finish, that I only have finished because I kind of lost interest halfway through, those can go, and then the ones that deserve space can go there. Let's see. I've got a couple of yay, Tracy said she just borrowed the book from the library. I love it. Curious how your kids handle decluttering from watching you all these years. Yeah, I mean, the container concept is really helpful. It just is. And we go through the process, and I kind of have to, I have been known to be like, I'm one of the world's leading decluttering experts. I will say that to my kids on a regular basis, and they roll their eyes as you would expect. But I go through the process. Like we just go through it. It's nobody in my house is naturally completely organized. Nobody, none of us are, right? I have to follow my own process when my own space gets cluttered. And so we just go through the process. Yeah. And they're pretty cool about it because the process works. Let's see. Can you talk more about concepts like pre-made decisions, head explosion rule? These concepts are equally important. I can't right now, but I do a lot in the videos. They're in the books, and yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. The books are 60,000 words. Let's see. I had lots of issues with paper and decisions with them. I have a file organizer on table right now and frozen on managing it. If you're frozen on paper, what I would do is pick up a pile and give yourself permission to non-committally look through it, and just for the purpose of looking. And if you happen to see any trash, throw the trash away, recycling if you have it. Do that just as a way to get started if you're frozen. Let's see. Is there a need for decluttering coaches that are mental health professionals? Yes. I actually love working with mental health professionals because, even if they don't necessarily become a certified coach listed on my site, I do think that there is, and I have been told because, I've had several go through it, but it is very helpful for mental health professionals to understand this process and how it works for their clients. So, because this is, I mean, I hear from y'all a lot about talking about clutter and things with your therapist. One of my favorite, I had an event this weekend, an in-person thing, and somebody said she was really debating, like, should I go? Should I not? And her therapist was like, you need to go. And I loved that. Made me happy. Let's see. How would you tackle a garage that has boxes full of stuff after a move that you haven't unpacked after 3 months? I just keep procrastinating, but want to park a vehicle in there by winter. So I have a video that will come out at some point this year. Who knows? And I mean, like, go through the process. Go through. What helped me was to have one container that my goal was to consolidate everything that was left into that one container. This was my way because I had a deadline coming. And I was like, I don't want to have all these things everywhere that are just kind of, things that are mostly unpacked, but a few things here and there. And I want to park in my garage. So I was like, this container can fit in the garage. So having that let me go through things, and I trashed so much. But here's the thing. A lot of people will tell you, oh, it's been 3 months. Just throw those boxes away. Or it's been 3 years. Just throw those boxes away. Problem is, I can't do that. I just can't. And so therefore, they would just sit there if that was what I thought I had to do. So instead, I went through it and I said, it either goes in the trash or it goes in this limited container, or if I know where it goes, I'm going to take it to that spot. Okay. And that allowed me to get through all of those. Okay. Maybe one more question. I love it. Trust the process, Michelle says. Yes. Rose, Dana, the take it there now concept changed my life in a positive way. We had always been taught to do the big declutter project, and then we're left with a big, overwhelming mess. Thank you. Exactly. That was my own story too. I would put off decluttering because I thought that's what I had to do, was pull everything out. And I was like, well, every time I do, our house is total, complete shambles for, where it was kind of holding on before, then it was complete shambles after a decluttering project for months. And so I couldn't do that anymore. Let's see. slobbecomes.com/take. Just reminding you, take your house back is on sale right now. Brenda says, take your house back is totally worth it. slobbecomes.com/take is my link. Let's see. Oh, last question. Do you think the local buy nothing groups are better than donating? I know it takes more time, but it feels good when somebody else in town needs it. I think that whatever allows you to get stuff out of your house is what you should do. The hang up or the thing that can end up backfiring with these groups is the time that it takes. Okay. I personally came to a point that I decided my goal was to get things out as fast as I possibly could, because I had spent so much time and effort trying to get things to the perfect people who really, really needed it, that I ended up just slowing down the process. And it's like the time that I was spending getting stuff to the perfect people was time I could be spending getting stuff out of my house. And so I came to a point where I could just declutter. So, and just donate, just get stuff out as quickly as possible. But if that's what you need to do and it's working for you, then keep doing that, right? But if you find that it is slowing you down, let it go and donate. Okay. All right. Take Your House Back is on sale. I will maybe talk to you next week. I don't know. I may not, because I gotta get this book finished. Anyway, it's been really fun, and it's been good to see y'all after the summer, and I will talk to y'all next time. How about we say that?